and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of our nation's flag by the Frank W. Ackerman, Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 32-36. Remain standing through the invocation and the singing of our national anthem by the Ludlow High School Chorus under the direction of Mr. Dan Henry. Color Guard, advance the colors.
Honor Guard. A take, hook. Right shoulder, hook. Mark time, hook. Forward, hook.
Pastor Doug Gray will now offer the invocation.
Good morning. Please join me in bowing your head in prayer. Our great God and Father in heaven, this morning we gather together to give you thanks for all the men and women who have served in our United States Armed Forces, for those who have been willing to sacrifice for the American way, for the freedoms she offers, and for the hope of those both home and abroad she provides. We thank you. For each soldier, airman, sailor, and Marine's devotion and courage, we stand in awe and are filled with great gratitude for their service, which secures our freedoms and our rights. And God, as each of us listens today to these speakers, may we be reminded of President Kennedy's words that the cost of freedom was always high, but Americans have always paid it. And the one path we will never choose is the path of surrender or submission. And there is no one who has paid a higher cost in America than our American service members. So we take time to remember our veterans and grant us an attitude of respect and honor and thankfulness for each veteran and their part in securing our freedoms and the American way of life. And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Present, hook.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose vast stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, hook. Mark time, hook. Color guard, hook.
Color Guard, post the
Color,
colors.
hook.
join me in a round of applause to the Ludlow High School chorus and Mr. Hanson. Good morning. And welcome to the 2015 Ludlow Veterans Day ceremony. My name is Technical Sergeant James Jives of the 104th Fighter Wing and Post Adjutant of the Ludlow VFW Post 3236. Together with Eric Secundo, the Ludlow Director of Veteran Services, we are honored to be your Masters of Ceremonies for today's event. I would like to introduce our distinguished visitors here with us today. State Senator from the 1st Hampden and Hampshire District, Eric Lesser. He will be joining us shortly. 7th Hampden District State Representative, Thomas Petrolotti. Representing Senator Elizabeth Warren's office, Everett Hanford. Now, unfortunately, Mr. Hanford will not be able to stay for the entire ceremony, but we're very fortunate that he chose Ludlow as the first ceremony to attend this morning. Also, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen from the town of Ludlow, Carmina Fernandez, who is expected to join us shortly. Selectman William Rooney and Selectman Manny Silva. Our guest speaker this morning, Captain Kimberly Jean Askew of the 439th Airlift Wing at Westover Air Reserve Base. Ludlow High School Senior Class President Louis Fiolo. Other guests that we're fortunate to have with us this morning, Christine Bassett, Post Commander of the VFW Post 3236. Lou Casagran, Commander, American Legion Post 52 in Ludlow. Mary Evangelista, President of the VFW Auxiliary. And we're also fortunate to have representatives of the Ludlow Police, including Chief of Police Madeira, and representatives from the Ludlow Fire Department, including Chief Babineau. At this time, I would like to welcome Eric Secundo, Director of Veteran Services for the town of Ludlow, for his opening remarks.
Thank you. Good morning. We also want to recognize Selectman Aaron Saunders, who's here with us today as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
For generations, the men and women of Americans' armed forces have demonstrated their willingness to put country before self. Patriots who serve for the greater good, who don't seek glory or recognition or personal gain. And today we honor them. Today is their day. Our nation honors the contributions and the sacrifices of nearly 22 million veterans living today, and all those who made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of liberty and justice. History has proven us with extraordinary examples of their selfless deeds. They have brought hope, faith, and liberty to the millions of people around the world. But the number of people who they've helped cannot be calculated by the erected memorials or speeches delivered. And it doesn't begin to represent the true scope of service our nation's veterans have provided. In time of danger and in time of peace, it is the selfless and dedication of the American veteran that has continued to secure the freedoms upon which this great country was founded. Your presence here today demonstrates your acknowledgement and gratitude for the generation of military men and women that have served to ensure freedom cannot be free. That freedom is free. It is our veterans that have protected Americans' values and ideals. It is our veteran who pose quiet, resilient strength of character, loyalty, honor, and integrity. Traits learned and carried while performing their duties. Today holds great historic and patriotic significance. The debt owed to the defenders of this great nation is even present, and it is imperative that on this day we take the opportunity to keep alive the memories, sacrifices, and accomplishments of our nation's veterans. And it should be a day that we give appropriate thanks and recognition to those who have earned it. Your presence here provides meaningful proof that you appreciate the fact that the freedom we enjoy today is not free. If you look to my right, your left, you will notice the 50th anniversary commemorative flag of the Vietnam War. The federal government has partnered with local communities such as ourselves, private organizations, and communities across America to participate in the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. A 13-year program to honor and give thanks to the generation of proud Americans who saw our country through one of the most challenging missions we have ever faced. While no words will ever be fully worthy of their service, nor any honor truly befitting their service, let us remember that it is never too late to pay tribute to the men and women who answered the call of duty with courage and valor. Throughout this commemoration, let us strive to live up to the examples by showing our Vietnam veterans, their families, and all who have served the fullest respect and support of a grateful nation. If you look to my left, is the Vietnam Service Medal in full size. This medal is awarded and recognized for those serving during the Vietnam War and is authorized to service members of each branch of the U.S. Army, provided they met the award requirement. We as a town of Ludlow would like to take this moment to thank all our Vietnam veterans and welcome them home. If you are a Vietnam veteran, please stand right now. Thank you, and welcome home.
Thank you, Eric. At this time, it is my great pleasure to introduce a longtime supporter of our veterans and their families, Representative Thomas Petrolotti.
Thank you, Jimmy. To the Reverend Clergy, Captain Kimberly Jean Askew, to the veterans, members of the Board of Selectmen, and ladies and gentlemen of this great community. It is always a distinct pleasure and honor for me to add my voice this morning recognizing our veterans. And I look back to the great novelist C.S. Lewis, who once said, "All that we fear from all kinds of adversity is collected together in the life of a soldier on active service." He went on further to state, like sickness, it threatens pain and death. Like poverty, it threatens ill lodging, cold, heat, starvation, and hunger. Like slavery, it threatens toil, humiliation, injustice, and arbitrary rule. And like exile, it separates you from all you love. Most veterans here today, whether they experienced the field training exercise in intense combat, have a distinct memory of ill lodging, discomfort, arbitrary rule, and separation. It goes part and parcel with military life, and it is why we hold veterans in such high esteem. So with that said, let me suggest that the history of this holiday may be unknown to many of us, yet it exists because of the strength and convictions of generations past, that we should remember veterans and their sacrifices for our peace and for our protection. We all recognize and are cognizant of the fact that the price paid for freedom that we enjoy, and this freedom, still needs the protection from us today. We also recognize that Veterans Day is a time to thank and honor every American who served in the military, but especially those who have served during times of war. You know, when we think back of the colonial American soldiers who died in Lexington, they made the ultimate sacrifice for an idea, for one simple, basic idea, the idea that they could form their own nation. They died never knowing that they were not merely in rag ranks of a Massachusetts militia, but were the first line in fighting in a war that would enable a founding of a nation that has never been seen before. So today, like us, all over this country, Americans are gathering together to pay tribute and to remember our veterans. Today is our chance to thank them for their selflessness in answering a call of duty and to remember those who have served. So let us take today, remembering the soldiers throughout the centuries who came together to fight for a common cause. They defended America when our borders, when our people, and our way of life was in threat. The late General Douglas MacArthur once said, "Soldiers above all others, pray for peace. For it is the soldier who must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war." It is because of women and men like that are here today, our soldiers, our veterans, that we are able to wake up every morning on free land. So with this holiday, let's bring out the flags. Let's applaud the veterans. For we know, whenever, wherever this nation is called, in times of darkness and in danger, as well in times of peace and prosperity, the American veterans have been there. They honor our community by safeguarding American traditions that we hold so deeply. And most importantly, veterans have proudly carried the torch of liberty for all to see. In closing, let me suggest this to you, that I feel it's incumbent upon each and every one of us individually and collectively to go forth today and to teach our children and our grandchildren so they never take for granted the freedom and liberty that we have been granted. It is now incumbent upon the next generation responsibility to protect, defend our country, our God-given rights, and our freedoms. All our veterans deserve our appreciation and remembrance, not only today on November 11th, Veterans Day, but throughout the year. And I would be remiss in my closing remarks if I didn't take this opportunity to recognize the great people of this community who come here each and every Veterans Day, this yearly tradition, to pay homage, appreciation, and respect to our veterans. It speaks volumes to the character and substance of this community. In closing, may God bless this community, this Commonwealth, and this country. I thank you for your participation today.
Thank you, Representative Petrolato. This morning's next guest speaker will be the 1st Camden and Hampshire District Representative, Senator Eric Lesser.
Perfect timing. Well, first I want to introduce myself. My name is Eric Lesser. I'm your state senator. I have the honor of representing Ludlow in the Massachusetts Senate, and the distinct honor of working alongside your phenomenal representative, Tom Petrolotti. Tom, thank you for all your work over the years for Ludlow and for the entire state, and for your leadership as well. My apologies for being a little tardy. I was coming from a ceremony at Westover, which is also one of the communities I represent. I come to you as the son of a veteran. My father is a lieutenant colonel in the Massachusetts Army National Guard, served a tour in Iraq, and that experience really taught me something. It taught me we of course owe a solemn debt of gratitude and thanks to our men and women who put on the uniform, who enter harm's way to protect our way of life. We also owe a solemn obligation and thanks to the family members who stand by our veterans and support them in their time of need, and who anchor and hold their families and communities together while their loved ones are overseas. So I want to also take today and this time to thank the family members of all our veterans who have also sacrificed quite a lot to protect our way of life. So thank you to the men and women who are family members of our veterans as well. Thank you very much. We can give them a round of applause. I want to congratulate, of course, today's honorees, and to echo on what Representative Petrolotti was saying. You know, you have an obligation from me, and a solemn debt that I can make is the least I can do is a thank you, and as a way to honor our men and women in uniform and their family members. I serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee in the legislature, and we need our remembrance of veterans and our honor of their sacrifice to be more than just words. We need them to be deeds, and we need them to be reflected in our laws, which is why I'm proud to be one of the Senate co-sponsors of the Stolen Valor Act, which passed the House last week. And will be up for a vote next week in the Senate. Fully expect it to pass. I will certainly be speaking on its behalf, and will be working to make sure that it swiftly is passed. It also means protecting and investing in our vital institutions like the Soldiers Home in Holyoke, making sure that center is protected for future generations and remains a resource for our veterans. It means investing in and protecting our veteran service agents, our veteran service organizations, and making sure that our veterans have the support and the access to services that they need at all stages of life. We have younger veterans now as well as older veterans, World War II veterans, and now Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, and those from the War on Terror. We need to make sure that veterans at all stages are protected. And so my feeling is that, you know, Veterans Day, while it's sort of turned into this holiday where there's sales in the newspaper and people view it as a day off from work, it's about something much more than that, and you of course all know that because you're here. It's about honoring those who have made the ultimate selfless act, which is to put themselves in harm's way to protect everything that we hold dear, and all too often, unfortunately, so many of us take for granted. So today is a day for us to stop, to say thank you, and the hope is that we do that more than just one day a year, but at least this day we can make sure that those who have done so much to protect our way of life are remembered and thanked. So thank you for inviting me, for including me in today's ceremony, and you have this obligation from me that I will make sure that every day is treated like Veterans Day at the State House from now and for years into the future. So thank you, and thank you, Eric, for your invitation.
So recently I have been working with the sponsor of the Stolen Valor Bill, Representative Velas from Westfield, who's also a member of our VFW here. And let me tell you, the work Representative Petrolotti and Senator Lesser have done to ensure that this bill comes forward is priceless. I think it actually can make history from the time that bill was introduced in July to get to the floor this past week, and it was voted 149 to nothing by the House. And before Senator Lesser gave his words, I was going to urge all of you to call his office tomorrow to make sure that the Senate will take up that bill and vote on it right away, because there's no reason to hold this bill. The Stolen Valor Bill will protect the honor and service of our service members, and will make it a criminal offense for someone to misrepresent themselves as a veteran for a financial gain. So they can't wear a uniform, they can't put a hat on, they can't go into a store and ask for a discount if they not have earned that right. And that's what the Stolen Valor is going to protect. And in Massachusetts, if this bill passes, which I know it will, it would be the strongest stolen valor law in the country. Massachusetts will be that way. So once again, we want to thank our representatives for going forward and expeditiously passing this bill. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. At this time, I'd like to call Selectman Bill Rooney up to share his remarks for us on Veterans Day.
Good morning. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen and my colleagues here today, Aaron Saunders and Manny Silva, and our town administrator, Ellie Villano, I'd like to welcome all of you to this annual Veterans Day ceremony here in Ludlow. I've been on the Board of Selectmen for 8 years, and I've come to this event every single year, be it here at Exit 7, or there have been some years where it's held at the Ludlow High School auditorium. And I have to say, it's one of the highlights of my time that I have in the Board of Selectmen to be actually to come here and to pay tribute to the veterans. I did not serve in the armed forces. My father was a veteran of the United States Navy. But I think so often today, we talk about thanking the veterans, and that's what we do especially well here in the town of Ludlow, led by our incredible Veteran Service Director, Eric Segundo. I would also like to pay tribute to our Veteran of the Year, Steve Sawyer, who because of a prior commitment can't be here today, but certainly a wonderful choice. And on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, we congratulate Steve on being chosen as the Veteran of the Year. As I was listening to Representative Petrolati and Senator Lesser, it struck me that one of the things that both of them said resonate here today, that with the exception of the veterans, perhaps the 12 most important people in this room are the 12 sitting right in front of us. The 10 young women and 2 young men, and who they represent. Not only are they important here today as winners of various awards, but as Senator Lesser and Representative Petrolati pointed out, all of you, are our future generation. And it's important for them and for the people they represent in the high school and in the middle school to make sure that here in Ludlow and throughout the country, we carry on this tradition of thanking our veterans. As was said previously, we certainly should be thanking them today, but we should be thanking them every day. So to the younger people here today, to the 12 of you, and to those that are here for other reasons, pay attention. This is what the town of Ludlow does, and it's one of the things that the town does so well. So on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I want to certainly thank all of our veterans today and wish them well with their family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Selectman Rooney. It is now my distinct honor today to welcome our guest speaker, Captain Kimberly Jean Askew. Captain Kimberly Jean Askew enlisted in the Massachusetts Army National Guard in October 2000, assigned to the 226th Division Aviation Support Battalion as a petroleum supply specialist, refueling UH-1 Huey and UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. Captain Askew was commissioned through the Reserve Officer Training Corps as a second lieutenant in May 2006. She was assigned to Charlie Company 126 Brigade Support Battalion as a platoon leader from 2006 to 2007, and Alpha Company 126 Brigade Support Battalion as a platoon leader from 2007 to 2009. She was then assigned to the 164th Transportation Battalion as a battle captain from 2009 to 2011, where she deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and New Dawn. She was promoted to captain in November 2011 while serving dual-hatted as operations officer with the 126th Brigade Support Battalion and executive officer for the Military Entrance Processing Station in Springfield. By 2012, Captain Askew assumed duties as company commander for 165 soldiers of the 1166th Transportation Company. In November 2013, she was accepted and transferred to the Air Force Reserve 439th Airlift Wing, Westover Air Reserve Base, as the executive officer for the wing commander, and is currently serving as process improvement officer for the entire wing. Captain Askew is a graduate of Ludlow High School, Springfield Technical Community College, Western New England University, and Westfield State University. She holds a Master of Science in Criminal Justice as well as a Bachelor's in Criminal Justice with a concentration in Homeland Security. She is a military graduate of Basic Combat Training, Petroleum Supply Specialist School, Leadership Development Assessment Course, Basic Officer Leadership Course Phase 2, Quartermaster Basic Officer Leadership Course Phase 3, Combined Logistics Captain's Career Course, and she will be attending the Squadron Officer School this winter. Captain Askew's military awards and decorations include Meritorious Service Medal, Joint Service Commendation Medal, Army Commendation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Meritorious Unit Commendation, Army Reserve Components Achievement Medal 2, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, Overseas Service Ribbon. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Kimberly Jean Askew.
Good morning, Ludlow. Good morning. I'm happy to be here. As you heard, I'm a Ludlow graduate. I spent most of my childhood here in Ludlow, and I see a lot of familiar faces out here in the crowd, and it's great to be here. I see some family, some friends, even some people I work with. So I want to thank you all for attending. This is a very special day. It's not only special to me and fellow veterans, but it should be a special day for America and Americans alike. I also want to thank the police department, the fire department, our public service. We recognize what you do as well. I feel you should have a special day, and thank you for your service. Thank you, Eric Segundo, for inviting me here today. Thank you to our distinguished guests, Eric Lesser, Thomas Petrolati, for being here and supporting the veterans who serve this great community and great nation. Thank you, Pastor Gray, for a beautiful invocation, and the Ludlow High School Chorus for singing our national anthem. I also want to say a special thank you to the family of Major Sawyer. He could not be here today, but he is what a veteran is. He exemplifies what it means to be a veteran, and I want to pass on my gratitude to his family for paving the way for veterans like myself and my friends. So if any of you have wondered what it takes to be a guest speaker, I'm willing to let you in on it. At least from my experience. You see, those of you who know me may actually find it hard to believe that I don't like to draw attention to myself. I prefer to keep a low profile. So when Eric asked me, would I be the guest speaker for today's ceremony, my gut reaction was to say I was busy. And I could have been busy. But when you have a father like mine, who is exceedingly proud of you, you realize that he wants to see and hear you speak what Veterans Day means to you. What he fails to mention is that he volunteered you. So I accepted. You realize that your dad, the guy that took care of you, made you the person you are today, really, really wants to see you speak and hear you speak. So that is how you get to be the guest speaker. I'll be very careful how I proceed with this, but what my dad failed to realize was that in the military sense, and only in the military sense, I outrank him. So Dad, Vietnam veteran, Richard Askew, I order you to stand. Dad, I'd like to thank you twice today. Thank you for volunteering me as guest speaker. It is an honor to be here. And thank you for your service. I am just as proud of you as you are of me. Welcome home, Dad. So today we recognize the United States military, the finest military in the world. We recognize the Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. Veterans who have sacrificed both in war and in peace to protect America and the American way of life. We are here to honor our brave men and women who have proudly served this great nation, for they are the fabric from which our flag has been woven and flown. The term veteran describes a person who served or is currently serving in the armed forces. That's a simple definition for a very complicated experience. I prefer to think of the definition of a veteran as someone who wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America in the amount up to and including their life. People refer to a veteran as someone who has been on the job for several years, or a seasoned athlete who's experienced a few years of games. The military veteran is more than that. They carry the scars, both mental and physical, of preparing for war, being constantly vigilant, carrying out their mission, and fighting in war. They, unlike any other profession, take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. A lifelong devotion to freedom that makes them unique. There are more than 25 million veterans in the United States, and 1.6 million are female. Nearly 10 million are over the age of 65, and 1.6 million are under the age of 35. We're here today to honor those heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. No military, I repeat, no military in the history of the world has been more widely deployed as the United States military. Currently, the United States has military personnel deployed in about 150 countries. This covers 75% of our world's nations. Close to 3 million military men and women are actively engaged in some type of operation as we speak. That's a large percent of our armed forces. As you look at the numbers, it's easy to focus only on our veterans who are far from home, separated from loved ones, maybe 6, 12 months or longer, doing our nation's work. The majority of veterans, however, we honor them today. They are no longer actively wearing the military uniform. Many have gone on to become our teachers, police officers, firefighters, business owners, and neighbors. Whether they wear the military uniform today or wore it decades ago, veterans represent an unwavering dedication and embody the highest ideals of service to our nation. Today, people throughout the country will gather to remember, to honor, and to pay gratitude to those who served. Our gathering is just one small spark in the flame of pride that burns across the nation today and every day. It's not a lot, but it is one small way we can honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice so we can live in freedom. As long as we remain engaged in prolonged conflict, service members and family support will continue to be a key factor and a key focus of our military leadership. We will always recognize and honor the accomplishments and sacrifices to our nation. So how do you know when you spot a veteran? Some bear the visible signs from their service, a missing limb or more, jagged scars, a distant look in their eyes. Others hide the evidence inside, a piece of shrapnel, broken bones, or the memories of loss and trauma known only to them. You can't tell a veteran just by looking, but if you're looking, you will find a veteran. They are the cops on the beat with memories of sweating 2 gallons a day in the Middle East. It's the businessman still making sacrifices for the ones counting on him. The homeless man on the street corner, unable to adapt because the nightmares just won't stop. The high school teacher seeing the future grow in every class they teach. They are the anonymous heroes resting at the tomb of the unknown. It's the nurse who can't forget the ones they couldn't help. It's the father teaching their teenager life lessons through the lens of a disciplined military trainee. It's the elderly man at the grocery store who wants to tell you his story from World War II, usually when you're in a rush. And it's the woman who still feels guilty because she made it home and her friends did not. The veteran is an ordinary and yet extraordinary human being, a person who offered some of their life's most vital years in service to their country, and who sacrificed their own ambition so others would not have to sacrifice theirs. It was a calling they would gladly accept over and over and again. The veteran prays for peace daily because they, like no other citizen, understand and carry the burden of war. Ironically, the veteran usually spots another veteran. An instant kinship and camaraderie that simply says, you understand. A common thread in the complex fabric of protecting our nation. Armistice Day. As this commemoration was first proclaimed, recognized the day the ceasefire was signed during World War I, putting an end to hostilities on November 11th, 1918. At 11 a.m., on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Armistice Day was first designated to honor those who fought in World War I, which was said to be a war to end war. Unfortunately, it did not. Following World War II and the Korean War, Congress replaced the word armistice with veterans in 1954 to honor all American veterans. Veterans Day recognizes our heroes. They are some of the most innovative and influential people I know. On this Veterans Day, we are still a nation at war. We continue the battle in response to the terrorist attacks on U.S. soil on September 11, 2001. Today is a day of honor and a day to honor everyone who has worn a United States military uniform. Our veterans, they are the torchbearers of freedom and democracy, each of them living every word of their oath to protect this nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Whether you wear the uniform today or wore it decades ago, you represent a fundamental truth of America's armed forces. The truth of patriotism, love of country, and willingness to serve. Sacrifice and put others before yourself. The service members we honor today came from all walks of life. They share several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity. All the qualities needed to serve a larger cause than oneself. Many of them did not ask to leave their homes and fight on distant battlefields. Many didn't even volunteer. They didn't go to war because they loved fighting. They were called to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways in extreme times. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them and given us so much. Since the first shots at Lexington and Concord were fired and our Revolutionary War began, American men and women have been answering the nation's call to duty. Millions of Americans have fought and died on battlefields here and abroad, all to defend our freedoms and way of life. Today, our troops continue to make the ultimate sacrifices, and even as we lose troops, more Americans step forward to say, I am ready to serve. They follow in the footsteps of generations of fine Americans. When I served at the Military Entrance Processing Station 2 years ago, I had the honor of providing the oath of enlistment to a few thousand recruits in the course of 3 years. I was humbled then, and I am still humbled now, by the men and women who continue to answer the call to support and defend our nation and our freedoms by serving around the globe wherever and whenever needed. Most of these men and women are young. The importance of me saying this is that we must educate our children when it comes to Veterans Day and what it means to be a veteran. Children are so often labeled as our future. So if they are in fact our future, some of them will be our future veterans. And you probably can tell who they are already. A quick story before I sit down. On occasion, I take my dog to work. Don't tell my boss. Well, after work one day, he was a good boy, so I took him to the new pet store in close to Westover. I happened to still be in uniform. We were just going to stop in quickly. And a little boy, maybe 8, 10 years old, ran by the aisle, yelling and screaming, Dad running after him, telling him to slow down. Might sound familiar. He spotted me down one of the aisles, and he stopped quick, he backtracked, and he told his dad, wait, I have to say thank you. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. So he came up to me and he thanked me. His father came up to me, thanked me as well. But the little boy was the one who did the talking. He asked me about what service I was in. We talked about the Air Force. The number one question was, do I fly planes? I don't. We continued to talk. We even talked a little bit about our pets. And for a moment there, I'm almost forgetting that I'm talking to an 8-year-old. I'm talking to a child because of how educated he sounded about the military. Until he asked, well, is he in the military? And I look around. I'm alone, right? And I say, who? He points to my dog. So I chuckled just like that. And I say, no, he's not in the military. Well, he obviously noticed I laughed at him. And he says, well, that's still cool, but you do realize there's dogs in the military. I thank him. He thanks me. His father thanks me. They walk away. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our future. And I'm willing to bet that is a future veteran. Your presence here today, and that of people gathering all across America, is a tribute to troops and to their families. It is a way to say we remember. From the soldiers who shivered and starved through the winter at Valley Forge, to the doughboys crouched in the muddy trenches of France, to the platoon who patrolled the hazy jungles of Vietnam, and the young men and women patrolling our mountains of Afghanistan, the prisoners of war and the missing in action, we remember and honor them all. Please do not take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude. The courage these men and women possess is almost an irrational contradiction. It means a strong desire to live while taking the form of readiness to die for you and I. Thank you for attending today's ceremony. God bless you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America.
Eric will now present a citation to Captain Askew.
The citation reads, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States presented to Captain Kimberly Jean Askew for meritorious and distinguished service in furthering the aims and ideals of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, given this 11th day of November 2015.
Thank you, Captain Askew, for not only your service and commitment to the United States Air Force, but to our country. At this time, I would like to call upon Ludlow High School Senior Class President, Louis Fieldholt, for his remarks.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I would like to start by saying thank you, especially to the veterans here present. Thank you. This day, this entire day, is more than just a break from school. This is a day where we honor our veterans and their service to our country, and I am deeply honored to be able to say thank you in such a personal way and to be part of such a worthwhile ceremony. Before writing this speech, I Googled the word veteran. My generation likes to use Google more than like to use dictionaries. I didn't do this because I didn't know what a veteran was. I was simply curious what the internet, in its vast wisdom, had to offer. What came up surprised me, because what came up was this: veteran, noun, a person who has served in the military. 8 declarative words. That was the entire definition. And while that definition is technically correct, I think it's a far too simplistic and bland definition to describe such a dynamic group of people. Google's definition is inadequate. You cannot encompass the character of those who put their country before them in 8 words. You cannot describe the integrity of those who put their life on the line for freedom of people they never met in 1 sentence. That definition does not take into account the pain. That definition does not tell you about the months spent overseas away from loved ones, and it can't begin to tell you about the pain, physical and mental, of combat. That definition doesn't tell you what it's like to get a letter saying how much you have missed and that time has passed you by. Or perhaps even worse, that definition doesn't include what it must be like to not get that letter, to not know, to be on your own. And that is the cruel irony of war or active service, that to protect the masses you sometimes find yourself alone and far away from those you are protecting. Most importantly, that definition, that overly simplistic definition, does not include the sacrifice. To be in war, you have to be willing to give up everything. Luckily, those here before me never had to give the ultimate sacrifice. That doesn't make their sacrifices any less noble and important. Sometimes we think that by honoring the fallen, we have done enough. We have tried to honor those who fought and gave their lives in war by building memorials and celebrating this day. But for too long, far too long, I feel we neglected the living. Veterans shouldn't have to come home and be worried about where they will work or how they will live. The government, which is we the people, should work to ensure that all veterans who have given so much while fighting abroad come home and receive the services they truly need. This is, after all, their home. Let us take care of those who took care of us. But I see hope. The people of America are finally starting to realize that the true heroes are not the ones they see in the movies. The true heroes are the ones in uniform here today. The time is now. No longer can a presidential candidate make a speech without talking about veterans. Political platforms would be considered incomplete if they do not include a plan for improving veteran care. Our candidates have heard the people, and they are responding. America was slow to the uptake, but finally we are realizing that in order for the country to thrive, those who sacrifice it all must be provided for. In closing, I would like to share my hope for the future, a time when a Ludlow High School class president doesn't have to speak about a future, because it will be, by then, a reality. That day is coming. Until it comes, all we can do is vote. Our veterans have fought for our right to exercise our voice. We must not let them down. To end, I'm going to revise Google's definition of a veteran. Veteran, noun, one who sacrifices all they have for their country and their countrymen, one who is truly American and truly makes America the land of the brave, one who deserves thanks not one day a year, but every day of their lives. Thank you.
We're presenting the Ludlow Veteran of the Year Award. Unfortunately, Steve Sawyer could not be with us. It was funny because, normally we keep the Veteran of the Year secret till a couple of weeks before the event. And when I had mentioned to him that we were selecting him, he was ready to cancel his year-long planning 3-week cruise that he was on to be here today. That's how important it was to him. But it probably would have cost a divorce and being alienated by his sister, who he was taken with him as well. So I told him, you go ahead, LCTV will be recording, so we will make sure that he gets a copy and know that the town appreciates what he does. I'll read his bio. Steve enlisted in the United States Army in June 1959. In 1965, Steve was selected to attend Officer Candidate School in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where he graduated in May 1966 with the rank of Second Lieutenant. Major Sawyer, assigned to the 7th Battalion, 13 Artillery at Fort Irving, California,
And then again in October of 1966, Steve deployed to Vietnam, serving as an artillery advisor with the South Korean Tiger Division. Ironically, on the 12th of November, Lieutenant Sawyers, escorting his unit, went on a security sweep of Phu Cat U.S. Air Force Air Base in South Vietnam. And on the morning of November 14th, Steve's unit walked into a Viet Cong mortar pocket. 4 to 6 mortars had went off. Lieutenant Sawyer's recon sergeant was instantly killed. His radio operator and several of the South Korean military members that he was with were also wounded, to include Steve. Injured, Stephen managed to call for medevac and support. Lieutenant Sawyers, with shrapnel wounds from the blast, remained at the scene until all his men were airlifted out. Lieutenant Sawyers boarded the last helo out of the blast zone, and he ensured that everyone in his unit was accounted for, dead or alive. The injured was transported to LZ Hammond and then on to the 85th Medevac Hospital for surgery. About 4 or 5 days later, Steve returned to his unit, but was sent back 2 days later when his wounds had gotten infected. After a few weeks in Japan at a hospital, Steve volunteered, having the option to go back home to the States. He volunteered to go back to Vietnam to continue the fight along his fellow service members. For his injuries, Steve was awarded the Purple Heart. And after returning from Vietnam, Steve continued his military service until he retired in June 1979. Major Sawyer is the recipient of the Purple Heart Medal, the Bronze Star Medal with 1 oak leaf poster, Good Conduct Medal, 2nd Award, Vietnam Service Medal, Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal, the Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross with Palm Medal, Meritorious Unit Citation 2nd Award, and 3 overseas bars. Steve returned to Ludlow, where he raised his family and still remains a resident. Steve is married to Dorothy Dolly Sawyer and has 1 daughter, Eileen Sawyer, and 1 granddaughter, Caroline. This past year, I selected Steve to be my assistant graves officer. And what was funny was there was no job description on what that position was. But Steve created that description. He is at the Island Pond Cemetery every day. He ensures that every veteran's flag is on their graves. He replaces those that are tattered, and he places one as each veteran is buried within hours of them being buried. He also takes pictures. As he started this project, he takes pictures of the graves and he uploads them to a website called Find a Grave. So anyone in the country, if they're looking for a particular person who's buried here in Ludlow, they will find out where the veteran is buried. Let me rephrase that. It's anybody who's buried there, what location, what plaque, and what the plaque looked like. That is the work of Steve. Always selfless in his service to his community and to our veterans. So ladies and gentlemen, for a round of applause, Steve is probably watching this live. We want to thank Steve for his service and his sacrifice. We do have, I believe his daughter is here to receive his award for him. Come on up.
A lot of people. So I was also volunteered by my dad, who said, we'll be on the cruise. Can you just go down on Veterans Day and pick up the award? He didn't mention this, which makes me wish that I had written something down now. I think I'm in a unique position to accept this from my dad because I knew my dad as a soldier. He didn't retire from the Army until I was 15. So
I know what kind of soldier he was firsthand. But when I was growing up, it was no big deal because everybody's dad or mom was a soldier. We lived on post. It was just, that's just how it was. It wasn't until I grew up that I realized what a big deal it really was. 20 years is a long time. It's a huge commitment to make to your country. And I'm so proud of my dad. I'm so proud to say that he's a Vietnam vet. My dad asked me to read this. Thank you for this unexpected honor. The only things that could make this day any more important to me is if my wife and I, parents, and my granddaughter were here. As you may or may not know, Vietnam veterans greet each other with a handshake and the words, "Welcome home." In closing, I would like to say to all of you here, thank you for making me feel welcomed home. Thank you.
So we have several citations I want to present. The first one is from the House of Representatives, Richard E. Neal, Congressman. Dear Major Sawyer, I write to congratulate you on receiving the 2015 Ludlow Veteran of the Year Award. This prestigious award recognizes your significant personal contributions to our community and is certainly a well-deserved honor. You have joined a very distinguished group in being selected for this recognition. I wish you much continued success. Richard E. Neal, House of Representatives. The second one is being presented by the 114th Congress, the Honorable Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts. Recognizes Stephen Francis Sawyer for being named 2015 Ludlow Veteran of the Year. Citations are also going to be presented by Representative Petrolati and Senator Lesser. And Selectman Ms. Rooney.
Well, thank you very much for those beautiful remarks, and to your father for his service. I come representing a citation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts from the State Senate. It says here, Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate official citation. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Major Stephen Francis Sawyer in recognition of being named the 2015 Ludlow Veteran of the Year for your outstanding bravery and dedicated service to our nation and our Commonwealth. Be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends best wishes for continued success, that the citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate. It's signed by the President of the Senate, Stanley C. Rosenberg, attested to by the Clerk of the Senate, William F. Welch, and offered by your State Senator, Eric P. Lesser. Congratulations.
Eileen, your dad would be very proud of the way you handled yourself and you described your father. I also had the distinct pleasure last week to introduce him to the Massachusetts House of Citation, and I just want to read some of the particulars. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Stephen Francis Sawyer in recognition of being named the 2015 Ludlow Veteran of the Year. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all your endeavors, given this the 11th day of November in the year of our Lord 2015 at the State House by Robert A. DeLeo, Speaker of the House, and offered by Thomas Petrolati, State Representative. Congratulations.
Good morning, Selectman Fernandez. I'm like Caitlyn Jenner. I have not gone for a sex change. Attorney Rooney was going to stand in, but I'll be giving this award to our wonderful Stephen Sawyer. First of all, I need to bring this down a little bit. Is that better? We are here today to honor our heroes, our brave ones, our U.S. veterans, and to remember the sacrifices they and their families, like Steve's daughter have made for all of us, for our liberties. Veterans Day gives Americans the opportunity to celebrate the bravery and sacrifice of the United States veterans. The day is set aside to thank and honor living veterans who served honorably in the military in wartime or peacetime. This year, the Veteran of the Year award is presented to Major Stephen F. Sawyer, who exemplifies the true meaning of the veteran. Mr. Sawyer served in the U.S. Army from June 1959 to July 1979 and is the recipient of the Purple Heart Medal for injuries he sustained in connection with military operations in the Republic of Vietnam. Since retiring from military service, Stephen has dedicated himself to support veterans and their families. We've heard of some of the wonderful things he's doing here in town. He is a member of many veterans organizations where he continues his involvement with activities and was recently appointed to Assistant Graves Officer from the town of Ludlow, as we've heard. In his position, he ensures the graves of our fallen and those buried in Island Pond Cemetery are properly maintained and recorded. He recently started uploading grave information. I'm sorry, Eric already mentioned this. Stephen's loyalty, diligence, and devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest tradition of military service and reflects great credit from himself, the town of Ludlow, the United States Army, and therefore we, the Board of Selectmen, honor him today as the 2015 recipient of the Veterans of the Year Award and urge all of our citizens to unite in this special celebration of the American spirit and respect for Mr. Sawyer. Welcome home, Steve, and thank you so much for everything you do for this town. Our very own Eric Segundo. For all those who don't know, he was awarded the Outstanding VSO of the Year by the Department of Veterans Services Secretary Francisco Urena. So thank you, Eric, for our youth and for our veterans.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Carmina Fernandez, Chairman of the Ludlow Board of Selectmen, for her remarks this morning.
This is truly me now. Today we are taking the time to remember those who are too often out of sight and out of mind. These are our brave military members who have put service before self. We are here today to honor our heroes, our brave ones, our U.S. veterans, and to remember the sacrifices that they and their families have made for all of us. It is through their untold courage and sacrifice that American veterans have secured the liberty which our founding fathers sought to establish and which many of us take for granted. Whenever and wherever this nation has called, whether in times of danger, darkness, or in peace and prosperity, our veterans have answered the call. We are here today to remember their achievements and their dedication and to thank them for their sacrifice. Our gathering here today is but one small spark in the flame of pride that burns across the nation today and every day, and we can't tell you how proud we are of our veterans and our veteran services here in town. Your presence here today and that of people gathering all across America is a tribute to our troops. It's a way to say we remember. For those soldiers who shivered and starved through the winters of Valley Forge, to those young men and women patrolling the mountains of Afghanistan still today, we remember and we honor them all. And so thank you for attending today, and God bless you and your families, and God bless our troops, and God bless America, and thank you for giving us our liberty.
Thank you, Mrs. Fernandez. Our next award is Recognition of Business of the Year. To showcase unparalleled community service to Ludlow veterans and their families, the Frank W. Ackerman Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 3236 annually recognizes an outstanding Business of the Year. That is a business that exemplifies great community service to Ludlow veterans and their families. This award highlights the enormous importance of community partners who go above and beyond to assist veterans in our town. Exit 7 is the Business of the Year for 2014. Sue Crowther will accept the award for the Exit 7 Theater. And the plaque reads, "For many years, the Exit 7 Theater and its staff have been an involved and invaluable community partner. This organization always offers its facilities, staff, and energy for veterans programs, such as today's event. Exit 7 is a champion in our town and gives back to Ludlow on a grand scale. It is an honor and pleasure to present Exit 7 with the 2015 Business of the Year Award."
More recently, the Exit 7 allowed us to host a show here called Letters from Home. And it was an awesome show to benefit, all the monies raised benefit our veterans. So I also have a citation from the state commander to Exit 7 in appreciation for your participation in the special project fundraiser, its success and ongoing above and beyond the services that they provided. That Letters from Home, between the two shows that we held here and in Plymouth, raised almost $5,000 on a special project. So thank you. We also have a state Senate official citation from the President of the Senate and Eric Lesser for being named the 2015 Business of the Year as well. Representative Petrolati is also presenting one from the House of Representatives.
As Ludlow's community theater, it's our pleasure to give back to that community and to our veterans. We are standing on the Paul R. Hamill stage, who was a proud Marine veteran. And we are proud of the work that Eric does and of the service of all our veterans. So we thank you.
Our next recognition is Civilian of the Year Award. Veteran of Foreign Wars Post 3236's Civilian of the Year Award recognizes one outstanding person for their valuable and selfless commitment to our town's veterans and their families. The 2015 Civilian of the Year Award is presented to Barbara Gonda for her relentless involvement and unwavering commitment to Ludlow veterans and their families. Over the years, she has served on many committees and projects, demonstrating her deep commitment and appreciation to Ludlow veterans. Barbara is one of the most engaging and magnetic person one can hope to meet. Ludlow VFW Post 3236 is pleased and honored to present this year's Civilian of the Award to Barbara Gondek.
Barbara's being presented as well with 2 citations, one from the House, the Senate, signed by Senator Rosenberg, the President of the Senate, and Senator Lesser, being named the Ludlow 2015 Civilian of the Year.
I won't read the citation for Barbara, but I would be remiss if I didn't suggest to you, as a father of 2 young ladies and a beautiful wife, that behind every good man is a great woman. And I know... That's her husband that just said here. He better say here, here.
Taking the pictures.
We know Richard's participation in the veterans organizations, but Barbara comes to this platform today not looking for recognition or applause. She does her duty extremely well and does it in a fashion that makes us all very proud. And as I stated in my closing remarks, it's very humbling for me to represent this community for the last 28 years because of people like Barbara. I know we don't take her for granted. And for that, we are the beneficiaries of your great work and your commitment not only to the veterans, but to this community. Congratulations.
Just thank you, everyone. Always support our veterans.
We will now move on to the Student Awards portion of today's ceremony. Our first student award is the Voice of Democracy. Each year, nearly 40,000 high school students from across the country enter to win a share of the $2.2 million in educational scholarships and incentives awarded through the VFW's Voice of Democracy audio essay competition. Knowing that a democratic society needs nurturing, the VFW established the Voice of Democracy program in 1947 to provide students 9 through 12 the opportunity to express themselves in regards to democratic ideas and principles. The first national first place winner receives $30,000 scholarship that is paid directly to the recipient's American university, college, or vocational technical school. Other national scholarships range from $1,000 to $16,000, and the first place winner from each state, VFW department, wins an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. The goodwill of the veterans of foreign wars reaches far beyond the realm of veterans helping veterans. In fact, direct involvement with America's youth and communities has always been, and always will be, a VFW priority. As I read the winner's name, I ask the students to come up on stage and remain on stage until all the awards are presented. Fifth place, Louis Fihal. Fourth place, Brooke Dias. Third place, Sydney LaRue. Second place, Leah Fieldhawk. And first place, Nathan Gutierrez. Nathan Caterio is being presented a certificate and a check in the amount of $150. He will also advance to district level competition where his essay will compete with students from across Hampden County. He will now
10 minutes of fame right here.
He will now be presented with citations from Senate Lesser and Representative Petrolotti. Once again, a round of applause for all of those At this time, the award winner is going to read his winning essay.
I've grown up in the greatest nation in the world. Well, that is what I've been told. Over the years, I have learned of my nation's great achievements. We liberated Europe from Nazi occupation during World War II, and we established a capitalist republic society on the Korean Peninsula. However, over recent years, I've been engaged in politics, as all Americans should. And the current events at hand seem to contradict our nation's greatness. We seem to be losing that which established us as so great and amazing. If I was to be asked which nation is the greatest, my answer would not be the United States of America. However, I want this to change. During Nazi occupation of much of Europe, citizens were imprisoned in concentration camps, and we, as Americans, were praised, respected, and honored for our devotion to liberate our fellow human beings from cruel and unusual punishment. However, now the nation is criticized due to poor military judgment as we nearly bomb hospitals. Domestically, we only recently acknowledged gay marriage when our nation was founded upon equality for all. Even when this was acknowledged, there were some government officials who disregarded this law as it contradicted their religious ideologies. What happened to the separation of church and state? What happened to our common national cause for liberty and justice for all? What happened to us? What happened to America? I want America's greatness to be restored once again, and this wish is within reach. One of the major problems surrounding the United States today is the lack of engagement in politics. Too little people turn out to vote. Thus, Americans essentially ignore that which governs them and directs their life. Instead, they leave these decisions in the hands of the few, which creates an oligarchical nation. Americans need to vote. Many people complain of certain rules, statutes, or decisions, yet they do nothing about it. People need to take action to see change occur. This includes voting and contacting your elected officials. I believe the first step toward my ideal America is the creation of a law which rewards those who vote. This will open up the pathway to the perfect America. As a result, my vision for America is the vision that existed in the minds of the Founding Fathers, an equal and just America. For this to exist, Americans need to vote, but they clearly do not want to. Therefore, they need to be encouraged to do so. Once voter turnout is nearly whole, then laws which benefit and please all will start to be created. This could include better wages and labor laws, as well as greater separation of church and state for greater equality. This would also lead to wiser military decisions that result in the loss of less American lives. My vision for America is one where we are on top, all are treated equally, all have equal opportunity, and all others aspire to be like us, just as it once was, and it will be. A great America is one where all can strive to achieve that which they wish. Equal opportunity is that which built America, and it is that which will sustain its future as well. We all need to cooperate, however, for this desire to become a reality.
Thank you. Our next award category is the Patriot Pen Awards. The VFW believes strongly in good citizenship and fostering patriotism. That's why we encourage youthful minds to examine our nation's history and their own experiences in modern American society through our Patriots Pen Youth Essay Writing Contest. Annually, more than 100,000 students from grades 6 through 8 nationwide enter. Our one first-place winner from each state competes to win one of 46 national awards totaling $46,000. The national first-place winner wins $5,000 and an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. in March. Students draft a 300 to 400-word essay expressing their views based on an always patriotic annual theme chosen by the VFW Commander-in-Chief. This year's theme was What Freedom Means to Me. With the help of the Baird Middle School Patriotic Pen Coordinator, Michelle DeMore, we received over 200 entries for this contest. With the assistance of Baird school teachers, the field was narrowed to 39. As we cannot award everyone a prize, we want to thank all the students for participating. All participants will receive certificates. Today, we will recognize the top 10 essays and award them with certificates and monetary awards. The top 5 winners will move up to the district level competition. Congratulations to all winners. Number 10, Mackenzie Charest. Ninth, Emily Fayford. Eighth, Carolyn Aguilar. Seventh, Kelly Bazinet. Sixth, Carly Smith. Fifth, Fiona Elliott. Fourth, Kobe Dias. Third, Grace McCarthy. Second, Sedona Wicker. And first, Nicholas Street.
Let me tell you, reading 39 essays can be a little stressful for us. We want to thank some of the judges who are here today. You know, they fight back and forth as we read them, and ones make, at the beginning, the first read on them, they were at the bottom level, and then as we reread them 2 or 3 times, as we try to narrow them down, some move further up when we judge them. So we want to thank all the students because they were really great essays, and we've got to thank the staff at Bear Middle School because they're teaching our youth the great writing skills. So they were really hard, 39 essays to read. So thank you to the staff. A round of applause to the teachers. So the top 5 will move up to the district level, and they will compete against students' essays from Hampden County, at which point the top essay will move on to the state competition. and we will keep you posted on that through LCTV and the register of the winners. Every year, each person here today has a role to play in carrying the legacy and burden of freedom. And each citizen must work to ensure that America fulfills its promise to provide our veterans with the benefits and entitlements they have earned and deserve. We must be willing to pick them up when they are down, help point them the way to a new life when they return home, and carry them when they are weary. We are obligated to do no less, and we are honored bound to do so. Let us offer a prayer of thanks to those who are serving far away from family and friends, and let us cherish our many veterans for their extraordinary gifts they have given us. We want to thank everyone who attended here today, especially our service members. So once again, a round of applause to all our military. If you are a veteran, please stand. Please stand to be recognized if you have served this country. Thank you, and thank you for your service, not just today, but every day. I have one request, and we can do this really quickly. I have a friend of mine, a Ludlow resident, Peter Nowak, who is at the Soldiers' Home, and he is very big on Facebook. And I wanted to take a 5-second video of everyone saying thank you for your service and post it to his page. Is everybody good to do that? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to pull my camera out. I'm going to stand in the middle of the floor, and we'll do it all together at the count of 3, okay? One, two, three.
Thank you for your service.
He's going to love that. I also want to thank our guest speaker, Captain Askew. Actually, we're going to even go a step further. I want to thank their family, a generation of service to our country. Kimberly Askew, Rich Askew, World War II veteran Lloyd Askew, and his other son as well that all served. This family has served our community and our country for many generations. Thank you so much for your service. Not only did they sacrifice one member of their family to serve, but generations of service. That is what we call true patriotism in our country. Before I call the pastor for his benediction, a set of keys were found outside. It's a Ford, I believe. Let's see here. All right, there's a keychain. It says Craftsman. Sears. Stop and Shop? No. CVS. Ace. Ludlow Senior Center. Got a little tag there, Ludlow Senior Center. If anybody lost their keys, it may be one of the Senior Center residents, but we have them. Is that yours?
I can find out who.
Oh, with scanning that card? Oh, technology. Great. We'll bring it up to you. I also want to thank my Master of Ceremony, Jim Jice. I think he's done a great job the last 2 years. He really thinks he's helping me out, but really I am just training him to take over the ceremony next year so that I can enjoy the Veterans Day off. All right, here he is.
Thank you for attending today's Veterans Day ceremony. Special thanks to the Exit 7 Theater for again hosting this event, and Ludlow Community TV and all their staff here today. Also, thanks to the Ludlow High School Chorus for an outstanding singing this morning, and Cub Pack 1774 for their assistance. At the conclusion of today's ceremony here at Exit 7, we will have a very short wreath-laying ceremony down at the memorial, a short walk away.
We cancel that.
Oh, it's canceled. Oh.
It's right here.
I apologize. We won't have that because of the weather. But we invite you to stay for this event inside. At this time, I'm going to ask again Pastor Doug Gray for the benediction.
Great morning to be together. Let's pray. Thank God. The Most High God, we declare that we are a peace-loving people. However, we understand that peace comes only through the ability to stop those who desire to wreak havoc, to hurt others, to destroy democracy, and to take captive the freedoms of man. And so on this Veterans Day, we're here to remember and honor all veterans, past, active, and future, for their patriotism, for their love of country, for the willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. For each service member who stands and fights to oppose those who desire to take our liberties hostage, we remember each man and woman of our military who sacrifices to protect these freedoms. It is with great gratitude that we honor our veterans. Now, God, will you grant grace to those who have served, especially those who suffer today from wounds and injuries incurred while protecting and securing our freedoms. Would you go before those who serve us today and help them to be reminded of what your word says when it says, "So I will be with you, I will not leave you, or I will not forsake you. Be strong and courageous." Would you protect them and keep them from harm's way? Thank you for each speaker, for their message, for their charge. Keep us forever reminded of the cost of freedom and the men and women who have sacrificed so that we may enjoy it. We pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor. This now concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending.